Let's get your Canvas site all ready for the first day of classes. My name is Angie, and I'm going to take you through everything that you need to get your class in Canvas ready to go. Now I'm here at the dashboard, and I'm signed into this free Canvas site. So if you don't have Canvas through your institution yet, or just want a site to practice on, this is a great way to go. I'll put the link in the description down below. Now here on the dashboard, I've got my published courses up above, but we're going to be working in my unpublished course here that shows up down below. The very first thing that I want to do though is to go over here to my global navigation. They show up on the left-hand side, and let's set up your account. I'm going to click on account. And then let's go to profile first. Now I encourage my students to do this as well. You can change your profile by clicking on edit. I've already got a photo added, but you can do that by clicking on the pencil now, and then you can upload a picture from your computer and then click open and save. I've already got that, so I'm going to go ahead and just hit cancel here. You can also change your name or how you prefer to be called. So maybe I want to be called Mrs. Redman or Professor Redman, and you can change your pronouns here as well. You can add some more information. I go ahead and just leave it just like this, and then I click on Save Profile. Next, let's look at settings. Settings is like a more advanced version of that profile click. If I click on Edit Settings here, it gives me some of those same options that I had in Profile, but it also gives me some contact options over here on the right-hand side. Now, I don't have another contact method added, but you could certainly add a cell number and have notifications sent directly to your phone. I don't do that, but there is an app for your phone that you can use. There's a teacher version and a student version for Canvas, so you can quickly check in on what's happening in your Canvas course. If you scroll down here, you can also change the time zone. So you want to make sure that you are in the correct time zone. I am in the Pacific time zone. You can change your language here, your pronouns, and so on and so forth. And as you continue down, there are some other options here, which honestly you can just skip at this point. Let's go ahead and do update settings. ePortfolio, this is not something that I use. I have used it in the past, but it's pretty clunky. Shared content, this is if anybody that you're working with has shared something with you. QR for mobile login, I skipped that as well. And global announcements, this would be anything that's been pushed out by your institution that's been announced to all of the Canvas users. Now I want to back up and go to notifications. I didn't start with notifications because it's going to use all of the contact information that you've added here. I only have my email address, but your phone might be an option if you've added it there. Now, for the most part, I leave my notifications just as Canvas has set them up for me, but there's one important one that I do go in and change, and that is submission comment. For some reason, when you're grading, if you add a comment to a student and they reply back, it doesn't show up in an obvious place. So this is a nice one to turn notifications on. You can click on the icon over here, and it's going to give you all of the different options that have all of those different icons. I choose notify immediately. Now you're welcome to go through and change any of these other notifications, but you can also come back and do that at any time. You can also go up here to this drop-down menu and set up notifications by course. I wouldn't do this right now, but you can always go back in if you want to change some of those notifications. Let's get back to that Canvas dashboard. I'm going to click on my dashboard. But if I log into my Canvas site through my institution, you'll notice that over here on the right-hand side, I have several different to-do tasks. These are things that need to be graded, and you'll notice that some of them were just recently due that I haven't graded at all, and some of them I have a few late submissions that have been coming in. I also here have some coming up things, and these are assignments, things with a due date that are coming up that I can go ahead and look at. Your students will also have these, but instead of saying grade datability assignment, it'll say to do the datability assignment, for example. Let me go back over here to our dashboard. In the middle, we've got those course cards, and we're going to enter those in just a minute. And then over here on the left, along with account and dashboard, we have our other global navigation tools. Courses gives you a list of all of your courses, and when you end up with a ton of courses, you can also go into all courses, to view courses, not just the ones that show up on your dashboard, but you can see all of them. You'll also notice that there's a star here that you can turn on or off. And as I'm turning those on or off, they'll either show up on my dashboard or not. This is a really common question that I get from a student. They'll say, I'm enrolled in your class, but it's not showing up in Canvas. You can help them go into courses, all courses, and make sure that that star is checked. We also have the calendar, and the calendar is a great way for you and your students to view all of the due dates that are coming up. I can show you my calendar here in my current class, and you'll notice that it has all of the homework assignments, everything that's coming up, and all of these are dynamic links, which is really nice. They can scroll down and go to the actual assignment as well. Let me close that one. And then you've got the inbox. This is where you'll communicate with your students. You can send them message and they can send you messages. History is really like, think about just your recent places. If you are grading or something, you can quickly go back to that recent place really quickly. And then finally, Canvas help. We really want to get into that class. So let me go ahead and click on the demo class. If you're following along with me, I want you to do the same. Click on your unpublished course. It's going to look exactly like mine. So here we are in our brand new course. It's asking me to create a new module, but I want to really start by showing you all of the things that we've got here. So up in the very right-hand corner is Student View. I use this a lot as I'm building a course because I can continually check to make sure that my students see what I want to make sure they can see. Over on the right-hand side here, we've got some really nice setup buttons that we can use. Across the top, since we are in modules right now, we're in the module view. It does have some options to add a module. And then over here on the left-hand side, we have our course navigation tools. Now, one of the very first things that I like to do is to clean up Canvas so it's much simpler for you and your students to use. And we're going to do that by going to the Settings tab. I do not want all of these options available to my student. What you can see and not see, or what your students see or not see by default, is set up by Canvas and then your institution. Let's go into Settings and make sure that this looks great for our students. I want to first change these navigation options. So I'm going to click on Navigation. All of these options are going to show up as long as there's something published for it for my students in course navigation. I don't want them to see all of this. So I want to start bringing some of these things down into my unpublished section. So I'm going to hide them. I'm clicking, holding, and dragging to hide. So I'm going to hide all of these things. You can also click on the three dots and then click on Disable, and that will move it down as well. There are so many things. I do want the modules. I don't want quizzes because I'm going to embed those in the module. So imagine like week 2 module, there's a quiz. It will show up in the module. So they don't need quizzes. Rubrics, again, are built into my assignment. So I'm going to disable that. I don't need outcomes. I build my own syllabus. I don't really like Canvas's syllabus tool, so I'm going to hide this one as well. Same with files. I'm going to be embedding my files into those modules. Same with pages. You may want to leave people. Grades, you definitely want to leave grades. Discussions, these are like assignments. I'm going to leave those also hidden because students are going to be using those through the modules. Same with assignments, but I do want them to see announcements. So I have cleaned this up a ton. Once there are things published for each of these items, only these things will show up for my students. You can always go back and unhide something. Let me go ahead and hit save. We're back here in course details. So I'm at settings, course details. I think it's really nice to choose a course image. You don't have to do this. If you just want the bare bones stuff, skip the next few seconds, but I want to show you how to choose a course image. I'm just going to grab one off the internet, but you might have one that you already like in your computer. I'm going to go to the internet and I'm just going to do a quick image search. This is going to be a math class. I'm just going to say a math whiteboard maybe, and then I'm going to click on images. So once I find one that I kind of like, maybe this one, I'm going to go ahead and right click on the image. Oh gosh, there's so many choices. I'm going to right click on the image and then I'm going to choose Save Image As. And I'm just going to give it, math class image. But I'm remembering where I saved it, or for me, it put it in my download tray, which is super nice. Let me go back to my class. It wants me to upload an image, so I'm going to choose image, and it says you can either drag and drop or click to browse your computer. So if you click, it's going to bring up all of your computer files. You can get it that way, but remember mine went into my download tray. So I'm just going to click and drag it over to the upload image. So now I've got my image there. You may not be able to change the class name and course code. I can't when I'm in my institution's Canvas. I'm going to skip right by that. You can also change the time zone. Again, you may not be able to change the time zone. It might be preset. And the start and end dates are probably also preset by your institution. Now, I don't want to restrict students from viewing the course before the start date. They can view it only if I've hit published. Right now it's unpublished, but I want them in there as soon as they can get in. But I do want to restrict them from viewing it after the term ends. Otherwise, they're going to end up with all of these different Canvas courses on their dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and restrict them from viewing it after the end date. Let's see, you can change the default due time. I like 11:59 p.m. I'm going to leave all of that. Let's go ahead and update those course details. So notice I've got this. If I go out to my dashboard, I see that I've got that new course image. Let me open that back up. Now that we've got our course settings all done, we can go ahead and add our first module. So I am in the modules page, which is also right now the home page. I'm going to click on add module, and I'm going to call this getting started. I really like to have a getting started module so that it's clear that students are going to be starting with this information. And I'm just going to click on add module. Now, as I'm adding things to the Getting Started module, it says that I can drop files here, but I'm going to go ahead and use this plus button because the plus button will always be there for any module as I'm working through a course. So I'm going to click on this plus button, and I want to start by adding my, my syllabus, which is a file. So I'm going to upload a file. I'm going to choose File, Create File, and then choose a file. I'm choosing it from my computer, and it is in Downloads. And syllabus, I can go ahead and click on open, and it gives you the option to indent it or not. I'm going to go ahead and click on add item. Let's also add a welcome page here. So I can click the plus sign, and this time I want to add a page. So I'm going to add page, create page. Let's call this welcome to class. Okay, and I'll click on add item. I want to move the welcome to class to be first instead of second. So I'm going to grab this little array of dots. I'm going to click, hold, and drag and move it up there above the syllabus. To edit and add things to this page, I'm going to click on that title to open. So I've got it opened. There's nothing here. So I click on edit so I can add things to my page. So I can say, welcome to our class. Read through the getting started information, and so on. I can also add a photo here. So if I wanted to add a photo, I can click on my photo icon, or I can do inserts and then image, and I want to upload an image. So if I'm uploading an image, I can go ahead and grab one from my download. So I'm going to choose this photo, and then I'm going to hit open. It also asks for some alt text. This is a really, really good habit to get into because if students' internet is really slow and the photo is not loading, it will say what the photo is. More importantly, if a student is using a screen reader, it will read what is in the photo from your alt text. So I'm going to say a photo of your instructor in her home office. Okay, and then I can go ahead and click on submit. Now my photo is a little bit big, so I can go ahead and resize it by clicking on it. I'm going to grab one of those blue corners, hover over it, click, hold, and drag, and then I can resize that one. There are a lot of other things that you can add here as well. I'm going to go ahead and leave it just as is, and I'm going to click on save. You could also do save and publish, knowing that our module yet isn't published. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on save. So you'll notice if you look up at this breadcrumb trail that I'm in pages and not in modules, one of my pet peeves, but I do want to go back into modules so I can continue working on this one. So we've got our welcome page, we've got our syllabus. I also like to start off with a discussion board so students can introduce themselves to one another. So I'm going to again click on the plus sign on the top of this module, and I'm going to add a discussion board this time. Create topic, and I'm just going to say introduce yourself. You can indent it, and I'm going to go ahead and do that just so you can see what that looks like. I'm going to click on Add Item. Again, this is an empty discussion board right now, so I'm going to click on it so I can edit it. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit. So you can add some instructions here. You can even add a photo, everything that we did to that welcome page. Now, as I scroll down, I've got some additional options. I do want this to be a graded discussion board, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Graded. I don't like the liking thing, but you could certainly do that as well. You could even make it into a group discussion, but I'm going to go ahead and just leave it as graded. I'm going to keep it simple. 5 points as points, and I want to go ahead and put a due date on here. And let's say that it's going to be due on the 31st, and then click on Done. By putting a due date on here, it's going to show up in that calendar, and it's also going to show up in your students' to-do list. Now you can use available from if you don't want it to open up right away. And you can also use an until date. The until date is really nice if you've got students turning things in late that you won't count. So you can also put an until date on there. I'm going to leave it and then click on Save. Now, the final thing that I like to add to my modules is a welcome quiz, or you could call it a syllabus quiz, all about class quiz. Let's go ahead and add a quiz. Now, again, I look at the breadcrumb trail and now I'm in discussions, but I want to be in modules. So I'm just going to click on modules so I'm back where I want to be. I'm going to click on Add, and then we're going to add a quiz. I'm going to keep this quiz really, really simple, but know that I have another tutorial that will tell you all the bells and whistles of how you can create a wonderful quiz. I'm going to create a quiz here, and I'm going to call this one Welcome Quiz. We haven't set up assignment groups yet, but we're going to do that. Let's indent this one 2 levels, I don't know, just for fun. And then I'm going to click on this one. And then to set the quiz up, which I spelled wrong, I'm going to go ahead and click on the quiz name. And then we want to edit this one. And I spelled it wrong, so I can change that here. Okay, so now it's a quiz. I can do instructions here. I can also, just like that discussion board, I can also go down and add a due date. I'm not worried about students seeing correct answers because this is just our syllabus quiz. I'm also not going to give them a time limit, but because it's going to be multiple choice, I'm just going to give them, let's say, 2 attempts. And then again, any instructions that you want right here. So next we're going to go ahead and click on questions. Let's add some questions. I'm going to add a new question and multiple choice. You can choose whichever type you want here. Let's leave it at multiple choice. And this will say, when is Angie available for help? And then whatever answers you want. And I'm going to say Sundays. I'm going to say before class, if I can spell it right, before class, and I'm going to say Tuesday nights. Okay, well, the right answer is before class. So I'm going to go ahead and move. I'm just hovering so I get that green arrow to show up next to before class, and then I'm going to go ahead and click to choose that one as the correct answer. And it gave me a third choice, and I don't want a third choice. So I can go ahead and click on the garbage can to get rid of that third choice. And then we're going to do update question to save our question. You can add another question by clicking on new question. For this next one, let's make it an essay question. So I'm going to say essay, and I'm just going to say, tell me what you are most excited about for this class. And I can update question again, and I can continue to update those questions. Notice how the default is 1 point. If I need to change something with any of these questions, I can click, I have to hover first, hover on that question over on the right-hand side, and then click on that pencil. If I click on that pencil, it gives me all sorts of options like the point total, my instructions, the answers, etc. And I can click on update question. I'm just going to have this one be a 2-question quiz, and it's going to be worth 2 points. The one that's multiple choice will get automatically graded. The one that's an essay question, I'll need to go back in and read and grade those. Let's go ahead and click on save. Back to modules. Now I've got everything like I want in my module, and I'm ready to publish this. But remember, the class itself isn't published. So if I hit publish, my students still won't be able to access the class. But I'm just getting this ready so that when I do hit publish, this will be part of what gets seen. Now we've got our first module ready. If you're ready to add a second module, you want to go up to the top and click on Add Module, and maybe you call this one Week 1 module, and then Add Module. If I want to do anything in terms of editing this entire module, I want to click on the 3 dots up here in the upper right-hand corner, right across from the title. I can move the contents around, which means that I can take all the contents and move them to a different module. I can move the entire module. Let's do this. Let's move it to the bottom instead. Move. I can move the entire module. I can also delete the module, but I want you to think of the module as a folder. Even if I delete a module, all of the items that I created still exist as a page, as a file, as a discussion board, etc. The other thing that I can do is copy it to another class. So I can click on copy to, and it will let me copy it to any of my other classes. So it will take this entire module and drop it in. It's a really nice tool, especially if you are working with a getting started module. But what else do we need to set up? So we've got some course material. We put our syllabus in there. We cleaned up the navigation, but we still don't have our gradebook set up. Now, whoever created Canvas didn't ask me or you, because the way the gradebook is, it's really a combination of assignments and the grades tab. So the grades tab is where you see all of the grades. You can post grades there as well. I want you to think of assignments as your gradebook setup. I know it's goofy, but that's the way it is. So to set up your gradebook, you're going to go into assignments. So I'm clicking on the assignments tab, and I want to, let's see, right now I've got this assignments module, but I probably want some other categories, like maybe an exam module. This is called a group, and I'm going to add another group. So let me click on add group, and this other group is going to be, say, exams. Save. So I've got another group there. I'm going to add one more group. Let's call this one participation. So participation. And I also want to weigh these groups so it matches what's on my syllabus. To do things like that, I'm going to click on the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner. So I click on these 3 dots, and notice I've got an option there for assignment group weights. I want to weigh my final grade based on assignment groups. You won't need this if you're keeping track of all of the points and doing your grade based on points. Now I do want my assignments to be worth, let's say that these are worth 30%, and this is worth 40% for exams, and participation is worth 30%. So I've got a total there of 100%, and I hit save. The other thing that I can have Canvas do here in my gradebook setup, in my assignment setup, is to set it up so it's going to automatically drop a lowest score. And to do that, I go to the groups 3 dots. So I'm going to go to the groups, edit 3 dots, and I want to edit this group. And it has the weight there. It says, how many lowest scores do you want to ignore? I want to ignore 1, but maybe there's an assignment there that you want to make sure you keep, and you can add that as well. I'm going to click on save. So as you are assigning things, notice that the introduce yourself and the welcome quiz showed up as assignments. They're by default dropped into assignments. If you wanted one of these assignments to be in a different category, say you want introduce yourself to be in participation, you can go ahead and click on that array of dots, click, hold, and drag until it drops down here into participation. I'm going to click on this and show you where you can also change the category as you're creating an assignment. Let me click on edit here. This is my introduce yourself discussion board. I'm going to change the grading category. So I'm going to scroll down here and right now look at assignment group. It says participation. I want that back up in assignments. So I can actually do that from the very beginning as long as I've got those groups set up. Now the gradebook I said was actually two pieces. One was the setup, which is primarily done in assignments, and the other one is grading and excusing grades and stuff like that, which happens in the grades tab. Your students have the grades tab. So if I click on the grades tab, I don't think there's anybody enrolled in this class, so it's a really uninteresting one, but your assignments will show up. Let me show you what this looks like in my class that's going on right now. Here's what it looks like for my ongoing class. I've got my students listed there on the left-hand side, and I've got all of my assignments here across the top. Even though there's nothing populated in our gradebook, we can still do some really great things with our settings. I'm going to go over here to the settings icon and I am going to choose on late policy. This is something that has saved me because Canvas automatically doesn't count an assignment that hasn't been turned in. I want that to be a 0 if and until the student turns it in. So I'm going to automatically apply a grade for missing submissions, and I want that grade to be a 0. You can also set up a late policy by taking some kind of a deduction. Now this is a global setting. It does not apply assignment, unfortunately, assignment by assignment. Let me click on apply settings here. There are some other things that you can do here. You can move your assignments around, you can change the view, you can export your gradebook, so lots of additional options here. Now the thing that we haven't done is to set up our cutoffs for what's an A, what's a B, what's a C, and so on. That is actually done in settings, and I have a video that you can watch to set that up. You do not need to have that set up right away, and it's super easy to do when you're ready. Now we're almost ready to publish this class. What I would strongly recommend that you do though is to click on Student View. I can go to Student View and I can make sure that Getting Started module is actually showing up, and it is. I can also see that that list of pared down navigation tabs is exactly what I wanted it, and I've got the students to do item over here. I can see what the student's calendar looks like, and if I click on calendar and I scroll down, I'll see that that introduce yourself does show up. Let me leave student view. So I'm going to click on leave student view. Let's get back to our class so we can publish. I'm going to go to dashboard, and then I'm going to click on my demo class, and then this is the most exciting part. You are ready to publish that course. If you're not, that's okay too. Now what we've done here are the bare bones. There's so many things that you can do to customize your class. You're going to want to learn how to do your grading. You're going to want to learn how to post some navigation links for your students. So many different ways that you can customize the Canvas class. So do subscribe and take a look at my other videos. Any comments or questions, go ahead and add those down below for me. Good luck with your class.